His Holiness Partha as Goswami Maharaj with us. Maharaj is always blessing us, guiding us, showering mercy upon us, blessing us with His presence, sharing so much of nectar. So I welcome Maharaj this evening to our Jagannath Prem Namahata. Welcome devotees to our Namahata. Mataji's, could you please come forward, bring your chairs forward? Is there anyone coming for the first time? Before I hand over to Maharaj? Anyone coming to our temple for the first time? Prabhuji? Please? No? So I'll hand over to Maharaj. His Holiness Partha Sarathi as Goswami Maharaj.
First, a few prayers. Om Aginatanandasya Gamanjana Sakaya Chakshamatamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapatamena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Janati Sodhanati Vandeham Shilu Shita Patakamam Shilu Vaishavam Shirupam Sagrajatam Sakanarupatam Tamatam Jijivam Sadvaitam Sadvatam Rijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakanalalita Shri Vishwamatam Swami. Everyone. Hey Krishna Karanasana Lila Bandhu Jagate Gopisha Gopikanta Tapta Kancha Gomani Radhe Ramakshre Vishabhana Sakre Vanchakapa Namahum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashaya Mudare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Titanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vichari Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So we're going to talk about the parampara. The disciple succession. So let's do this verse. Evam parampara praptam imam rajaso vidu sa kalena mahata yogo nashta prantapaha. Now listen very carefully, because I will be asking questions at the end of the program to ascertain who has been listening and who has been sleeping. And I will be asking the men and the ladies without any gender discrimination. So the English. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it appears to be lost, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Please repeat. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science, as it is, appears to be lost. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, it is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings, because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demoniac persons who dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all types of interpretation according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motives of the unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the disciple succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself that the disciple succession was broken. Therefore, he declared the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment, there are many editions of the Gita, especially in English, but almost all of them are not according to authorized disciplic succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different mundane scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Sri Krishna. This spirit is demoniac because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoy the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the Parampara system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a treatise of philosophical speculation, it is simply a waste of time. So we offer our respect to the 4 sampradayas. There are 4 sampradayas. And these sampradayas are called first of all, the Sri Sampradaya. So we find the Sri Sampradaya is more prevalent in South India. And the Sri Sampradaya, it seems, started with Lakshmi, who is Sri. And the main Acharya in the Sri Sampradaya is Ramanuja Acharya. Ramanuja Acharya. An extremely powerful preacher. He appeared around about the year 1000 So before Lord Chaitanya, preached all over India, Ramanuja Acharya. Some say, that's right, Ramanuja, that Anantasesh entered into him. Yes. And then we have another Rudra Sampradaya. So Rudra, this is Lord Shiva. And the Rudra Sampradaya, the main Acharya, and that is Vishnu Swami. Vishnu Swami. And then we have the Nimbaka Sampradaya. They're called the Nimbakas. And they're coming from the four Kumaras. And the main Acharya, and that is who? Forget. Anyhow, Nimbakas. Who? Nimbaka Acharya. And then we have the Madhva. Now, there's a difference between the word Madhava and Madhva. So don't get confused. So we're talking about Madhva. One of Madhva's disciples was Madhava, and he was also an Acharya, and his name is listed in the Bhagavad Gita in the introduction. So we're talking about Madhva, Madhva Acharya. And it is said Vayu entered into Madhva, but also it is said Lord Brahma entered into Madhva. So Madhva, he came a little 100 years after Ramanuja Acharya, but still, this is all before Lord Chaitanya. So these great Acharyas were preparing, and they came prior to Lord Chaitanya, and they came to like prepare. You're going to plant something in the earth, you've got to prepare the earth, isn't it? With fertilizer, this and that. So Madhva Acharya. So first there was Madhva, well first was Lord Brahma, and Brahma was initiated directly to Krishna. Brahma, and then he passed the knowledge to Narada Muni. And when Narada Muni passed on the disciple succession of the Parampara to Vyasadeva. But of course Vyasadeva is also a literary incarnation of God. And Vyasadeva onto Madhva, and Madhva onto Padmanabha. And then it goes Akshobha, Jayatirtha, Jnana-sindhu, Dayanidhi, Mahanidhi, Dayanidhi, I'm missing out a few. And then Vishnu Tirtha, then Lakshmi Tirtha. Lakshmi Tirtha's disciples were Lord Nityananda and Advaita, and also Ishvara Puri. And then from Ishvara Puri, Lord Chaitanya. And then Lord Chaitanya, the 6 Goswamis, and then we have our line coming down from Vishnu Baladev, Jagannatha as Babaji Bhaktivinoda, we see on the altar. So this disciple succession was given to us by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And it's based on Diksha, but also Siksha. Yeah. Siksha. So we put more emphasis actually on Siksha in instruction and diksha. Like Gokishore wasn't officially initiated to Bhakti-Vinod, Srila Bhakti-Vinod. There wasn't any official diksha. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has given us that order, that line, which we accept. We have faith in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And he left out various names for reasons beyond us. For instance, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, and then it went to Madhushidan Das Babaji Maharaj, whom I think you've never heard of. He lived in Surya Corridor, frequented. And then Uddhava Das Babaji Maharaj, now you've never heard of him. And then I think there was another Uddhava Das Babaji. And then Baladevi Goswami, and another, again, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, Krishna Charan Das Babaji, Ramakrishna Charan, and then Narottam. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has given us a particular list. We accept that. So what does the word Sampradaya mean? We are in now the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. That's what we are connected to, all of you. Whether you're initiated officially, and you have a spiritual name, or whether you're not initiated, you're taking shelter of this knowledge. Am I correct? Coming from Prabhupada. So this means you're aligning with the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya. Sometimes it is at Saraswat also, Sampradaya. So the word Sam, Pradaya, right? Three. You can break it up into three. Sam means correct. Pra, means higher, superior. And da, sampradaya, daya means connection. So in English, the word sampradaya means the correct, superior connection. Pradaya. We have to connect. Connect means we have to hear and practice what we've heard. There has to be that connection. If you have lots of light bulbs, in Phoenix, no doubt, there are many light bulbs. But due to the evil enemy, ISKCON, I don't know where he is, our ISKCON manager. So, the lights go off. So what is the use? Lots of light bulbs, and there's no connection. Of course, here in South Africa, we do have the connection. It's just there's no electricity. But can you imagine? Bhaktisiddhanta gives this definition. He gives this example. What is the use? Many light bulbs, but they're not connected to the powerhouse. So there may be many temples, many institutions, there may be many disciples, but if you're not connected, sampradaya, daya, the connection, what's the use? The energy is not going to flow. So you have to connect, which means you have to be submissive and hear this knowledge. We don't challenge it. We hear it and we put it into practice. And using that example, you have the plug, and you plug it in. If the wiring is strong, then the energy flows. But if that wiring is broken, and you only got a few strands, then the energy doesn't flow properly. So one has to be connected. So we're connected to Srila Prabhupada. If we're receptive to what he says, and then we put it into practice. And then we're also connected to his followers, who are helping us to connect to Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is helping us to connect to Srila Bhakti, who in turn is helping us to connect to Gokisho Bhaktivinoda. An example, in India you have the mango season, and the mangoes at the top of the tree, they're the ones that first become ripe. So you climb up the mango tree, but if you throw the mango down, it may fall, and you may slip, and it gets bruised. So what they try to do is hand them down, from one boy to another, to another, to another, to the ground. So this knowledge is handed down. So we're receiving knowledge from the Brahma Sampradaya. It's a great honor to be connected to the Brahma Sampradaya. ISKCON is a bona fide mission started by Srila Prabhupada. It's a branch of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, especially Prabhupada introduced in the West. Even at Prabhupada's disappearance in 1977, we weren't doing that much in India. Juhu Beach, of course, but not that much. Now, of course, India, there are many projects, and we have our TOPP, and it's really expanded. India now is on a roll. It's on a roll. It's definitely. So Prabhupada said in one purport, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is establishing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya in the Western world. And then he also said, it is my life, it is my success, and it is my joy. Obviously, if you want to preach, you need an organization. With an organization, you can preach more effectively than if it was one person. So Prabhupada knew this and immediately established ISKCON, 1966. And then he also knew he wouldn't be around. We all have to leave our bodies. So he organized a GBC, he called it the GBC. This is actually from the British who introduced the railroads in India, and they also had a GBC. So Prabhupada took that same expression, GBC. So he created this GBC in 1970, and he designated 12 devotees. It's interesting, all these 12 devotees were Americans. Not Europeans, not Indians. It hadn't come that far yet. So this means the birth of the original supporters actually were your Americans. Even in ISKCON South Africa, all the devotees, they were your Europeans. 1974, 1975, and then one Indian lady joined. She's living in Mayapur now. Her name is Shama Sundari. She's from Benoni. She joined. We had to say that she was a maid servant, you know, like a maid or something, and lived outside separate because of, you know, the apartheid. Some or other, they let her stay. So then, yes, 2 devotees joined from UDW. And that would have been 1976. 2 devotees. But your basis was the Europeans, for some reason or other. Now, of course, it's completely changed. And we get a lot of support. Managerial, financial, Pujari work, and it's from the Indian community. So sampradaya, the correct superior connection. So when you hear this knowledge, you have to act. There's no point in hearing it and nodding your head and not following the instructions. You've got to follow the instructions. So of course the first are the 4 don'ts. The 4 don'ts. Jagannath, Subhadra, Balaram, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Ki Jai. So the 4 don'ts. So we know that. This is basic now. Like you're sitting on a plastic chair and it has 4 legs. Now, if it didn't have 4 legs, what would happen? You would fall down. So if you don't follow the 4 principles, you will fall down. One of my disciples in Johannesburg fell off her chair and broke her arm. So don't fall off your chair. Follow the principles. So they're quite basic, the 4 regulative principles. And it's not that difficult, considering our forefathers, or rather your forefathers, going back 3 generations and 4 generations and 5 generations. We can say they probably followed them. Vegetarian. So we know what is the 4 principles. So that's the first basic instruction. And then to chant Krishna's holy name. So Prabhupada gave us that number, 16 rounds, which is basically 2 hours. So we try to do that. You can do it a little quicker sometimes. Sometimes people speak a little faster. Sometimes people speak a little slower. It's all right. So, and then we have to understand a little philosophy. Bhagavad Gita is Raja Vijaya. What does Raja Vijaya mean? King of knowledge. So no doubt at Howard College and UCT, there's a type of knowledge. At school, there's a type of knowledge. But it's material and it's mundane. It's not going to help us at the time of death. Bhagavad Gita is the key. It contains spiritual knowledge. What is the difference between matter and spirit, and who is the controller of both? So there's many branches of spiritual knowledge. The word tattva means truth. So first we could say there's maya tattva, truth about the material energy. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, also maya tattva, how it interacts, how one becomes another. Then there is Shakti tattva. Different living entities may be empowered, like Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya. Then there's Jiva tattva. Jiva means the living entity. That's you and me. Jiva tattva. And then how many Jiva tattvas? As many as there are particles of dust, grains of sand in the desert, and different species. How many species of life are there, ladies? 8,400,000. And not all present either on this earth planet. Some may not be here. Some animals are extinct. Use that word extinct. So Jiva tattva, Shakti tattva, Guru tattva. Guru means spiritual teacher. But we can't limit Guru just to Diksha Guru. There's Diksha Guru, there's Nam Guru, there's Siksha Guru, there's Sannyas Guru, different types of people fit into the category of guru. Even the tree is our guru, because we can learn from the tree what? To be more tolerant than the tree. So we can learn that from the tree. When the tree is cut, the branches which we use for a fire, does the tree complain? Nothing. So if we're supposed to be more tolerant than the tree, when we become attacked or vandalized, we're not supposed to complain. Lower than the straw in the street. Everyone treads on the grass. It takes the lowest position. So, Guru Tattva, and then Vishnu Tattva is another type of knowledge. God expands himself, and he appears in different incarnations, like Ramchandra, like Lord Nityananda, his appearances on Friday. Or in Advaita is also considered Mahavishnu, his appearance we just had. Then there's other Vishnu incarnations, such as Vishnudev. Can you give me some more? Huh? Lord Balaram. Yes, Lord Balaram. Who else? Vraha. And even Sankarshan. He makes his appearance, and not on a motorcycle. What else? Incarnation, supposed to be more than the waves in Belito Bay. But we can only come up with 4 or 5. Vamana, Harigriva. Harigriva. Kurama. And then the fish incarnation, Master. What an unusual fish. When do we come in contact with fish? When we go to someone's house and there's a fish bowl. Isn't it? There's a fish bowl. We look at this goldfish swimming around. And we think, what a boring life that fish has. But Krishna appears a fish. Amazing. You can't limit God. We are limited. But God is unlimited. And in spiritual life, anything and everything is possible. Anything and everything. So he appears as a human being. And this is called Nara Lila. Nara means human-like. So this is considered to be the topmost appearance of God. Avatari, Avatar. The Avatari is the source of all avatars, so we've just gone over a few avatars. But Avatari is Krishna, he's the original. And he appeared 5,000 years ago in Vrindavan and performed human-like pastimes. Human-like means you have a young child, the young child cries. The young child loses its temper. The young child is a boy. He plays games with other boys. This is exactly what Krishna did. He played games with other boys. And sometimes he'd fight with other boys with sticks. And they'd play leapfrog. And they'd jump in the water. And presumably they could swim. Because it's God. And then growing up, Krishna, who is eternally perfect, Satchidananda, eternal, as a spiritual body, had relationships with gopis. This is very confidential, because many people misunderstand. Why do they misunderstand? Because they see in this material world men and women, boys and girls. Then they see their relationships, and they impose that material concept onto God. And they think, well, I know what it's like to have a girlfriend, I know what it's like to have a boyfriend. Therefore, they impose that material concept onto Krishna. And this is where they criticize Krishna when he has Rasa Lila. But they don't care to understand that when Krishna, which Goswami describes, when Krishna played his flute, Nisham Yogita Tadananda Vadanam. Vadana means to sustain. Ananga means Cupid. Through his flute, he attracted, like Cupid, these damsels of Vrindavan, and their minds became agitated, and they ran to where Krishna was, each unseen by the other. They couldn't see each other. Somehow they weren't able to, by Yoga Maya, that they thought it's just me running to see Krishna. And Rupa Goswami describes 1 billion ran to the bank of the river Jamuna. Presumably that bank of the river Jamuna would be probably the size of this temple room. How many people can you get in this temple room? 500. Let's say 1,000. So how would you fit 1 billion? Doesn't seem to make sense. But then the spiritual world is beyond the intelligence. So 1 billion gopis came, and they couldn't see each other. They thought, oh, I am just with Krishna. Because if there's 1 billion people, where's the privacy? Is there any privacy? Can you imagine how many cell phones will be taking pictures? And ringing and going off at awkward times. 1 billion, and there they all are on the bank of the river Jamuna. And it's Purni, the full moon, and the moon is shining on the river Jamuna. Sometimes you see the moon shine on the ocean, the Indian Ocean. It looks very beautiful, especially when the moon is covered with a few wisps of cloud. It's more beautiful, isn't it? When it's slightly covered, it's more attractive. So these gopis were very beautifully dressed, extremely beautiful. There were 4 udipans. The first was the garlands they were wearing, very beautiful, like I have some nice garlands. But these garlands will actually wither up. I put them near when I take rest, near my nose. But after 2 days, the smell is gone, and they become a little dry. But Krishna's garlands, or the garlands the gopis make, not like the spiritual, they're eternal. So garlands is 1 udipan. The clothes they wear, Partha, Vashtra. Vashtra means the garments. These are also objects of conjugal love, the garments. They were very beautiful garments, and you can imagine the colors. And the urjals, as cosmetics, they were on their neck, and then kumkum, and mascara, and chandan. I would make chandan from Prabhupada and apply it. So it's the same thing now in the spiritual world. One day, if I'm lucky, and I play my cards right, I may get to make chandan and apply it to Prabhupada in the spiritual world, like I did here. Chandan, a little bit of camphor, sandalwood gives it that slight color, and rose water. And that's how I made it. And then you apply it, I would apply it on Prabhupada's head. The marigold is probably the best. Carnation head is a little big. And these types of flowers, it doesn't quite work out. But the chandan we would put on Prabhupada's forehead, it couldn't drip. Because if it dripped, then you were in trouble. If it dripped, you became a drip. So, but it couldn't be too dry. Because if it was too dry, it wouldn't stick. It would fall off. So I would make the chandan, and just before I gave it to Prabhupada, I'd put in maybe a few drops of water to make it just right. And then with the right hand, dip, 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 dip. So the gopis, 4 udipans, the garlands, clothing, urgents, like chandan. And the last one, valayanam. Valayanam, nipuranam, kinkinam, chayasitam. Ornaments. Very beautiful ornaments. Not this made in China that they sell in the Phoenix market. No, the real thing. Very beautiful ornaments. And when the gopis wear the ornaments become more beautiful. It's not that the ornaments make the gopis beautiful. Generally here, it's the ornaments that you look, the ladies' hands, or the rings, or the toenails, make that particular limb more beautiful. But in the spiritual world, the gopis themselves make the ornaments beautiful. Yeah. So Rupa Goswami gives us this 4 udipans. Udipan means something which stimulates your love for Krishna. The main udipan is the flute, without doubt. It's not the guitar or the drum, it's the flute. Because when Krishna plays the flute, and that sound goes out and travels throughout the universe, at least travels throughout Vrindavan. Within that sound, the different gopis can hear their names. So they're hearing Vishaka, Vishaka, Vishaka. Another one is hearing Champa, Kalanta, Champa, Kalanta, Champa. They're hearing it in the sound of the flute. So the flute is the main udipan. And Krishna has different types of flutes. The smaller one, Venu, then Murari, which is slightly bigger, etc. Then a second important udipan is the moon. Because the moon, it shines at night. And otherwise there's darkness and you can't see. So if you go to the bank of the Jamuna and there's no moon, you trip up, you can't see. The moon has to be there to shine, and then you can see. So the moon illuminates these different areas of pastimes. And in Krishna's pastimes, the moon can be there every day, all 6 seasons. There are 6 seasons, in India. They can all be there in one day. Obviously not simultaneously, but one season and then an hour later, another season. It can be like that. What are the 4 seasons? Sorry, 6. You start with spring. What is spring? I think Vasanta. Vasanta season. Ritu. Ritu means season. So spring. And after spring, Ritu, we have summer. So I forget what is summer in Sanskrit. You remember? Summer. Something hot. And then you get monsoon. Monsoon. That's 2 months. So then it's humid, like here. It's a little bit humid. And rains a lot. And then you get pre-winter. So that's the month of Kartik, which is in that, what is it, 2 months? Pre-winter, Kartik month? Kartik is, of course, only 1 month. Huh? 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 Autumn, yeah. What's it in Sanskrit or English? Sanskrit, sorry, in Hindi. I knew that. And then it goes pre-winter. And then it goes winter. So it's 2 months. Each one is 2 months. 6 seasons. So they can appear all in one day in Krishna's pastimes. So this is where we want to end on. Goloka Vrindavan in Krishna's pastimes. So many times I hear people say, the only thing that matters is your family. Have you heard that? Family. The only thing that matters, family. So we agree with them, but not this family. That's the problem. Not this family that we have for 60 years, 70 years, 80 years. Not this family. The original, eternal family. Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, Rishi Bala Maharaj, Kirtigan, Wanamasi. The original family, Balaram, in Dubata, Caribou, Sudan, Talavinka, Gobata. And the cows, they all have names. That's our real family. So that's our destination. And Prabhupada has written in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, that the goal of life is to live with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, play with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, dance with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and eat with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's written in a purport in the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada also writes that the devotee returns in a spiritual body and plays and dances with Krishna. So this is our ultimate goal, to play and dance with Krishna. And by connecting to the Sampradaya, the correct Sampradaya, we can obtain this. It's like we're getting our passport, we're getting our visa. So we're not there yet. You're in Phoenix, you've got your ticket to go to Vrindavan. You've got your ticket, and you have your passport, and you may have a visa or whatever. But you've yet to go to the airport. So you have to catch the taxi or whatever. You go to the airport, and then from the airport, you go to Delhi. But you probably will stop on the way. Dubai. And then Delhi. But still you're not in Vrindavan, you're in Delhi. Then you've got to catch another taxi and get to Vrindavan and go down the hill. So we have that ticket. It's in our possession. So keep it carefully. And carry on the process, this journey. It's a journey. We're all on this journey. Some of us a little further. Some of us have made it to the airport. Others are still trying to get a lift. Some of us are in Delhi. So we continue practicing, and then our ultimate destination is take birth in Vrindavan and associate with Lord Krishna through dancing with him, playing with him, eating with him, and of course we'll have a spiritual body. It's all very wonderful. So this is the gift the acharyas are giving us, and we should always remain grateful and appreciative of what Prabhupada is giving us. He's giving us the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya connection, and continue to remain obliged, always remain obliged and favorable, and try to help this mission or this particular Sampradaya of Lord Chaitanya as best we can. Shri Ramanujacharya ki jai, Madhvacharya ki jai, Parents of Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Parents of Bhaja Balaram ki jai. Whoa! Anyone like to ask anything? Or make a comment before I start asking questions? Nothing? All right, the time has come now to see who is listening and who is sleeping. What verse did I read? Huh? Which is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 2. Correct. All right, you don't understand. All right, so next question. How many ladies, how many verses in the Bhagavad Gita? Huh? 700. How many verses in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? It's open, men and women, because I know none of you know. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, translated by Prabhupada, Nectar of Devotion. We studied how many verses? 2,129. So now Bhagavad Gita is 700, and that's difficult enough to understand. Would you agree? I mean, Bhagavad Gita is, now you've got a scripture 3 times bigger, and we study that, and the subject matter is far more complicated. The nature of rasa. It's only described actually in our Sampradaya, how you can actually have a relationship with God. Treat him as friend. Parent. You become a parent, lover. Nowhere else in any other scripture is this discussed. All right. The word sampradaya. My learned ladies?
Correct, superior connection.
Very good. Everything in one. All right. So now for connection, I gave an example. What was the example? Like, you have to have the right connection, so I gave a couple of examples. Can you say any one of the examples? Huh? Light bulb. Light bulb, yes. Correct. See, correct connection. All right. So here's one for the ladies. Krishna plays flute. How many gopis came to the bank of the Jamuna? Huh? 1 billion. And what I didn't tell you was 10 million were in Radharani's group, and 10 million were in Chandravali's group. Chandravali is the second most important group leader. Lalita and Vishaka are not technically group leaders. They want to support Radharani. So Radharani, 10 million, and the next one, Chandravali, 10 million. Balance, how many? Struggling. Real difficult to do the maths. 980 million. So they're in other groups. So can you see how the variegated this is? There's so much variety. All these other groups where these different gopis have slightly different moods. Just like all of you, you're devotees, but you have different moods. There's feminine mood, there's masculine mood, then amongst males, there's many different moods. Some are introverted, some of you are extroverted. You have different moods. So in the spiritual world also, there's variety. And actually that variety is unlimited. Unlimited. So anyone like to ask anything, or we'll finish off now? Nothing? Can you do the kit? Just 5 minutes. Chant Krishna's name. Yeah. We should always start, always end.
Just a quick announcement, tomorrow is the Thursday, and Thursday is the appearance of Lord Guardian, so the first is tomorrow, to half day. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Jagannatha